Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and to welcome you to another edition of Sports Smack. I am your host, DJ Sheed. Just Sheed. On here, you know me as Arcanine_Arco. Now, earlier, I, I did a show with my buddy, Mr. T Long, did the sports circuit, where we went over Week 2 NFL, as well as a Week 1 recap, some of the surprises, and some of the upsets. Because let's be honest, who would have thought that we would see the Saints just have a dominating game like that? And that Monday night game, what a game. What a finish. There was a couple of surprises that were in there. But just like with any NFL game, injuries do play a part of the season. Injuries will always be undefeated when it comes to how personnel can actually adapt to a situation or step up to the plate. Sometimes they can, sometimes they cannot. At the end of the day, it is what it is. So, but what I will be covering outside of the NFL, I'll be covering boxing. I'll be covering MMA. And I'll be doing a small little recap of Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, as well as some AEW. But for right now, I'm hungry. So, right now, I am in the kitchen, about to just put something in the good old toaster oven, so then I can come back and actually get my grill on. Just so y'all know, it's an Angus burger. So while I get that set up, ready to go, put it on for like 9 minutes. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a good amount of things to talk about. And excuse the lighting for real quick. There we go. Before I do that, let me make sure I grab this as well, so that when we get to my basic operations, we have better lighting. Bear with the journey, because the destination is also worth it, ladies and gentlemen. So, let's get right to it. So, we had a boxing event that happened this past weekend. And that boxing event had Tito Ortiz go up against Anderson the Spider Silva. Now, those that don't know, these are both MMA legends of the light heavyweight division. And what we saw was Anderson Silva go into that ring and take care of business. He literally handed Tito Ortiz his ass in the very first round. There you just completely dominated him in that first round, because it looked like Tito Ortiz was just trying to swing at him while in the corner, but Anderson Silva just did that, can't touch this, and was just dodging him like he was prime Muhammad Ali for like a couple seconds, and then he caught him. He caught him with a jab, and then here you see Tito Ortiz just sprawled out on the floor. And it was over at that. But then we get to the main event, which I heard that Donald Trump was on commentary, at least I believe on the Thriller side of the stream. But we saw Evander Holyfield taking on Vitor Belfort, in which there are a lot of questions for this. First of all, what is Evander Holyfield's old ass doing in that ring against Vitor Belfort? Like, man looked like he needed WD-40 to actually unhinge himself. He was that stiff. It was bad. It got to the point Belfort won the fight in the first round because the referee had to actually intervene and stop the fight. Holyfield he looked slow. But understandably so, because you only gave him a week to actually prepare for this fight. Because the original opponent was Oscar De La Hoya. But Oscar De La Hoya ended up catching COVID. So had to pull out of the fight. Kind of a bad look for you, Oscar De La Hoya. Made Holyfield look really terrible. Look really crappy. Made him talking so much crap about wanting to see Mike Tyson in the ring after what we saw of Mike Tyson. He faced up against Roy Jones Jr. in that exhibition. If Roy Jones Jr. wasn't doing all that dodging, he was going to be sent to the upper room real quick. Because Mike Tyson still got it. He still got that power. That never escaped him. And that's something that people had to realize. But then Vitor Belfort, after the fight, calls out Jake Paul. And I know people have been clamoring about Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul too. But Jake Paul already said that's not going to happen. Mostly because there was a bet in which the winner of that fight will have the loser tattoo a picture of the winner on their body. And that didn't happen. Hey, yo, what up, Sherrod? Nothing much. Just currently talking about the boxing fight that happened, and then the aftermath. The two boxing fights that happened with Anderson Silva and Tito Ortiz, and then Evander Holyfield and Vitor Belfort. And right now, Vitor Belfort calling out Jake Paul. So, there's that. But now that we know that Tyron Woodley probably won't be getting another shot at Jake Paul, now we have to look at who is the next person that can actually go up against Jake Paul and actually be a credible contender like Tyron Woodley. Oh, most definitely Woodley does not deserve a rematch. But the way that it was called, it was a split decision. Where one judge saw it in Woodley's favor, one judge saw it in Paul's favor. But I don't see Canelo even dirtying his hands to go up against Jake Paul. Would I want to see it? Yes, because it would literally be a probably 5-round ass whooping, if it even gets to 5 rounds. Because I don't see Canelo playing with him too long. He gonna try to put him to sleep immediately. But that's my opinion about that. But we do got 2 fights that are coming up. 2 fights that will be Anthony Joshua versus Usyk, and that will be September 25th. So that will literally be in 2 weeks. And then we'll also see Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. And that will be the 3rd one, and that will be October 9th. So, that's a lot to look forward to as far as actual heavyweight boxing. So, we see the rubber match to actually see if Fury can actually say, without a shadow of a doubt, that he dominates Deontay Wilder. Or if Wilder can actually learn from his mistakes from that second fight and actually get the win. That is going to be the tale of the tape. Can Wilder in his training camp actually learn to actually box and not just depend on his power, and actually add technique to his power and do the same thing that Francis Ngannou did and actually add technique to become a heavyweight champion? Only time will tell. Only time will tell. But in UFC, we do have a fight night coming up, which would be Anthony Smith versus Spann. Okay. So, Wilder looks like his old self and he looks in shape. Okay, so he's definitely taking this training camp very seriously. I will definitely need to actually be looking into footage of the training camp to actually see how he's looking, what he's doing. But from what I'm hearing from Sherrod, he looks like he is ready to go to actually go up in this rematch against Tyson Fury. But like I said, only time will tell if he is ready or not. But yes, we got Smith versus Spann. That will be a fight night. That will be this Saturday. And that will be a 4 p.m. main card. 1 p.m. prelims. So that's something to actually get excited for if you are into the UFC. But I believe after that we do have UFC, what was it, 260? I think it's 260? Or is it 258? No, it's 266. Where we'll have Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega. So, and that will be September 25th, live from Vegas. Plus, I believe Extreme Rules for WWE should be... That's coming up. That'll be on that weekend. So that's Saturday. You'll have the UFC 266, and then that Sunday you have Extreme Rules. So have a good amount of just content to actually talk about. But now that we're talking WWE, let's actually go over what happened. Because on Friday, you have the return of the Demon, Finn Balor. And I think it's only a matter of time before we see Naomi join the bloodline. It's only a matter of time. That's in my opinion. You also saw the Usos have to get saved by Roman during their title match against the Street Profits to actually keep their championship. So it just adds to the dynamic that the Street Profits will more likely get another opportunity at Extreme Rules. We've seen the transformation of Becky Lynch into more of a heel, basically blaming the fans, saying that I left my baby girl to come back to you, and this is how you repay me. So it's official: Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch, Extreme Rules. It's official. We also have Seth Rollins versus Edge. Great match. Where Seth Rollins ends up injuring Edge, I believe in kayfabe, not in like real life injury, but after I believe like 3 or 4 super kicks, he finally hits the stomp, as well as hitting the Edge-O-Matic and the execution to actually get the win. And then we also saw the return of Brock Lesnar. So it looks like after Finn Balor challenges Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules, Brock Lesnar will be getting his shot at the Universal Championship. But we also got the WWE Draft that's coming up, and that will be October 1st. And then on that Friday night. So October 1st will be that Monday. And then October 5th should be for Friday Night SmackDown. So that's all fine and dandy, but let's actually go over what happened on Raw. On Raw, you basically see the implosion of Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax as a tag team after they both cost each other a shot at the Raw Women's Championship. They will be facing off against each other next week. You also saw a good match between Jeff Hardy and Damian Priest. But literally the theme of the night was Big E cashing in Money in the Bank. That was the theme of the entire night. But we also saw Alexa Bliss getting a heads up on Charlotte ahead of their title match. So there's good there. And then after the match between Jeff Hardy and Damian Priest, Sheamus interferes in the match. We also saw Drew McIntyre and the Viking Raiders destroy Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Shanky. And then you had Nikki Ash getting the win over Tamina. I believe this was a botch, because the way that it ended, I don't think it was supposed to end that way, because Tamina kicked out, but the referee still counted 3. So one of them fucked up. And even in commentary, the commentary got it right, but the backstage people played Tamina's music, and the announcer announced that Tamina won. So yeah, that was a complete fuck up. But Rhea Ripley, even after that, got the win over Natalya. And then AJ Styles, Omos, Mason, T-Bar getting the win over the New Day, Mansoor, and Mustafa Ali. Doudrop completely destroying Eva Marie. What's new about that? That was to be expected. But at least Eva Marie tried to actually wrestle. But Bobby Lashley did end up retaining the championship against Randy Orton. Injured himself in the process of destroying both Orton and Riddle. Then got cashed in on by Big E. And Big E is your new WWE champion. And we have the reunion of the New Day on Raw. And this is ahead of the draft. So, all that happening. And then we go over to NXT. And NXT has a new look, has a new style, has a quote unquote fresh coat of paint. But we also saw some debuts. We saw LA Knight versus Braun Breaker, where Braun Breaker, they did get the win over LA Knight. And then Imperium getting the win over a new tag team in Brock Jensen and Josh Briggs. And then B-Fab getting the win over Katrina Cortez, and then cutting a promo afterwards against the female of Legado del Fantasma, and her name is Elektra Lopez. Again, like, not a like strong start to the show for NXT. And then you had Carmelo Hayes actually having backup in Trick Williams. But then you had Casey Catanzaro, Caden Carter going up against Jigo Dolan and JC Jane, which ended in disqualification with Casey and Caden Carter winning. But then we see a new look for Mandy Rose. She's now a brunette. And my God, she looks fine as a brunette. Jesus. But then it turned into a 6-woman tag with Casey Catanzaro, Caden Carter, and Sarai going up against Jigo Dolan, JC Jane, and Mandy Rose, with Jigo Dolan, JC Jane, and Mandy Rose picking up the win. This was actually a fun, great tag team match. And then you saw Rich Holland completely destroy Jake Maverick. The Creed brothers destroy some local competition just to basically put them over as a dominant tag team, but also introduce a new addition to the Dynamite, Ivy Nil. But then you also saw Kushida come out and actually accept the challenge of Roderick Strong for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. So that will be happening next week. And then you had the NXT Championship match, in which it was supposed to be Kyle O'Reilly, but he got jumped before the match by Rich Holland and Pete Dunne. So then you have a new recruit automatically being thrusted into the title picture, and that being Von Wagner. New guy on the block, immediate title contention. And this is LA Knight's second match of the night. Second match of the night. But he's the one that takes the pin. And Tommaso Ciampa is your new NXT champion. He got Goldie back. And this was a fine, fantastic match. But then you had the wedding of Index. And again, just the character development in this wedding was phenomenal. You had the original preacher get choked out by Dexter Lumis. Everyone that tried to object to the wedding saw Dexter Lumis with a hatchet in his actual shirt. And they just said, you know what? We good. There was no interruption to this wedding. But the surprise was Dexter Lumis actually speaking and saying, I do, when it came to taking Indy Hartwell as his wife. And so this wedding actually went off without a hitch, but we saw the return of Austin Theory. But Ike Manjiro had the ring. And it was just a bunch of just hilarity, because it just shows that the way as a group is just hilarious. And it just made everything good. Dexter Lumis had no vows. Then here comes Beth Phoenix as the substitute, because she got ordained as a minister like the day before. So she came prepared. And then Andre Chase and the audience just said no. But now we actually know that Braun Breaker, who I believe is related to Steiner, he's related to Rick Steiner, and it looks like he might be getting an opportunity as Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT Championship. But we now know that there could actually be a WWE wedding if done with the right characters. That could be comedic, funny, and actually still have the wedding go through with no mishaps. But there is some bit of a sad news, as we know that contract for Johnny Gargano, I believe that should be up next year. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he resigns or if he goes his separate ways. I don't know, because the way that things have gone, the way that Vince McMahon always thinks, he always likes just the big, just sweaty guys. Because after Bobby Lashley's loss, there were rumors going around that the Hurt Business could be actually coming back together. Which I'm like, fantastic, because I'm in the thought process of why would they separate it to begin with? Why did you break them up in the first place? Literally made no sense to me. None. Whatsoever. So, we saw on Instagram, the MVP was talking with Shelton Benjamin. And more than likely, sometime later this week, he might be talking to Cedric Alexander. But if Cedric Alexander is not on board to getting back with the Hurt Business, we might be seeing a new member of the Hurt Business, that being Keith Lee. Because Keith Lee, they have been planning to bring him back as a heel. But the original plan for Adam Cole, before he went to AEW, which I will talk about in a minute, was for him to be the mouthpiece of Keith Lee. Basically like a Bobby Lashley and Leo Rush type of situation. Which Adam Cole basically and rightfully said, no, hell no, I'm out. But let's actually go over what happened at AEW Dynamite, which just happened a couple hours ago, where you saw Adam Cole getting the win over Frankie Kazarian, which was a good match, and then cut a good promo after the match, in which he issued a challenge to Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy in a 6-man tag with himself and the Young Bucks next week. It's gonna be fun. And now you have a program between MJF and Brian Pillman Jr. Again, MJF, he is a fantastic heel. He carried this. And of course he's gonna run down New Jersey, talk down to Brian Pillman Sr. So next week it'll be Dynamite Grand Slam. But now we got Dante Martin taking on, and Matt Sydal taking on FTR. With FTR getting the win over Martin and Sydal. And Cody Rhodes making his return to actually attack Malachi Black. So next week we will see Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black again. Chris Jericho and Jake Hager making an interruption on Dan Lambert when he was with the Men of the Year, but also with Junior Dos Santos, Andre Arlovsky, Kayla Harrison, and Paige Van Zandt. Paige Van Zandt is, of course, a member of American Top Team, but doesn't have the most fantastic record when it comes to bare knuckle fighting. And so it looks like we will see Jake Hager and Chris Jericho going up against Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. That'll happen next week. And then you had Jade Cargill versus just literally destroying Layla Hirsch. And then afterwards, you saw Team Taz attack CM Punk, since CM Punk was actually on the commentary table. But now you got Darby Allin versus Shawn Spears, where Allin did get the win over Shawn Spears. Where you saw FTR join Shawn Spears and Tully Blanchard to literally beat down Darby Allin and Sting, with Tully Blanchard wiping the face paint off of Sting. And then you had Bryan Danielson challenging Kenny Omega for the AEW championship. And this will be next week. So, like I said before, it'll be Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. I saw this fight happening. I didn't think it would be this soon, but they're going to deliver. And I know this for sure. It's going to be a great match. And there's a lot of potential for next week's AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. It has the potential to just be fantastic. And when I say what a time to be alive to be a wrestling fan, at least we know that AEW doing everything that WWE is not doing. And just like Mick Foley says, WWE has a problem. They've had a problem. They've had issues for a long time. But they actually have competition right now in AEW to actually get their asses in shape, to make them put on a better product, especially for Monday Night Raw. SmackDown has actually been solid. Storylines all around. Storylines everywhere. Raw has been flat as fuck. And hopefully, this actually puts a fire underneath their asses that is more than needed. But that wasn't it. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston taking on 2.0, which was Air Rise in NXT. But Kingston and Moxley did get the win. With Suzuki and Lance Archer reuniting and attacking Kingston from behind. So it looks like that will be another match next week. So that was it for AEW. I think that's going to do it for me here. Again, there's going to be just a good amount of stuff to actually look forward to in the coming weeks, in both the boxing world, MMA world. If you want to watch, if you want to see me talk sports, and I'm talking NBA, Major League Baseball, as well as NFL, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll also be talking those topics here as well, and not just on the sports circuit with my buddy T Long. Make sure to be following T Long, as we'll be getting back to actually doing our shows every Wednesday, probably around like 6 or 6:30, to actually be talking sports as far as like NFL, Major League Baseball, and some college. Speaking of college, my God, that ass whooping the UFC received got so bad they had to fire their head coach. That's bad. So, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. This has been another edition of That Sports Smack. I'll catch y'all next week. Later.